So my girlfriend's family, they thought I was a total loser and not good enough for her. But when I walked away with more than they'd ever have, well, that's when I knew. I never thought I'd be in this position, but I guess we all crack eventually, right? I'm 28, and my girlfriend, Kelsey, she's 26. We'd been together for over a year, and things seemed pretty solid. Everything was cool until her family started sticking their noses in. Just to give you the basics, I'm a pretty chill dude. I'm not into all the fancy stuff, I don't try to act like someone I'm not, and I definitely don't feel the need to put on a show. I have a stable job in tech, making a good living. It's not like CEO money or anything, but I do all right, and I've always been happy with that. Kelsey's family, though, they're a whole different world. Her parents, Linda and Frank, they've got money. Like not just regular, comfortable money, but the kind where they own a bunch of houses, drive nice cars, and are always jet-setting to places you only see in pictures online. And then there's her older brother, Adam. He's a real tech bro, always going on about his startup ideas and what he's investing in next. He's one of those guys who loves to disrupt the market, but really, he just wants to move up the social ladder. Kelsey always said her family was a bit much, but she didn't want to distance herself from them, especially since they were tight-knit. I had no idea what to expect when I first met them. Kelsey had boyfriends before, but I don't think any had ever gotten close enough to meet the family. Stepping into their house, it was a total mansion. Seriously, like a fancy hotel was a little overwhelming. Right away, I got this weird vibe from Kelsey's parents. They gave me the stink eye, you know? Her mom, Linda, was especially frosty. She had this polite smile, but it was ice cold, like I was some science project she was trying to figure out. Her dad, Frank, was quieter, but his look said it all total judgment. And then there was Adam, her brother. He checked me out from head to toe and started making snide remarks about my job. Tech, huh, cool, but what's the plan? Most guys in tech don't exactly hit the jackpot, he said, smirking, like I hadn't heard that a million times already. At first, I brushed it off. But as dinner went on, it got worse. It started with little digs. Linda asked if I was planning on settling down soon, and when I mentioned some personal projects I was working on, she chuckled and said, "Well, I hope you're not still living in that tiny apartment. Kelsey deserves better than that." Then, Frank jumped in with something about how people in tech can get really wrapped up in their work, implying I was some directionless workaholic. The worst part was when Adam really started in on me. We were discussing future stuff, and I said I didn't think there was any need to hurry things along, you know? Just work on myself, save up some cash, take things day by day. Adam just wouldn't drop it. He goes, "Kelsey could do so much better than you," practically shouting it across the table so everyone could hear. "She's got a bright future. Why throw it away on some dude who can barely pay his rent?" Kelsey didn't say a word at first, but her face went totally crimson. I could tell she was mortified, and I wanted to just let it go, not cause a big fuss. But that comment, man, it hurt. I wasn't gonna let him get away with that. I smiled, but it wasn't a friendly one. "You know what, Adam, you're right. Kelsey could do a lot better than me," I said, trying not to let my voice shake. "But the thing is, she actually sees me. She sees who I am, not how much money I have in my pocket." Kelsey looked right at me, kind of surprised, but also, I think she was impressed. Adam looked like he was about to fire back, but Frank stepped in, making it super awkward by basically saying they all felt the same way about me. I was okay, I guess, but not good enough for Kelsey. That's when it hit me. They didn't just think I was beneath them, they were trying to sabotage my relationship with her. Dinner ended strangely. Kelsey kept apologizing on the drive home, but I knew this wasn't just about tonight. This had been brewing for a while. It wasn't just me they were picking on, you know? They did this to anyone who didn't fit their mold. After that whole mess, I kept my distance from her folks. Kelsey, bless her heart, always tried to smooth things over, but I could tell she was stuck. The heat from her family was unreal. They weren't even trying to hide it. They were always on her, pushing her to do better, like I was some kind of problem standing in the way of her success. But honestly, I didn't give a damn. I didn't care what they thought of me, not one bit. It didn't matter that they thought I wasn't good enough for Kelsey. The truth is, I didn't even realize how much I'd let their opinions get to me until I started really looking at my own life and what I wanted. Fast forward a few months. I was putting all my energy into this side project, something I'd always been crazy about but never had the time or space to fully dive into. I put in all the effort, and after tons of late nights and just grinding it out, things finally started to click. I had a couple of small wins, some unexpected chances, and before I knew it, my side project was turning into something way bigger than I ever dreamed of. I wasn't just getting by at that tech job anymore. I was building something that could actually shake things up. But the real turning point came when Kelsey's family invited us over again a few months after that awful dinner. And this time, I was bringing a whole lot of stuff with me. Man, things were finally looking up. I had new business deals, a killer reputation, and a whole new perspective on life. I was finally ready to show them all I wasn't some loser, not one of their rejects. But I had no idea how much I was about to shake things up. The minute we walked in, the tension was thick. You could cut it with a knife. Adam was his usual arrogant self, but there was something different. Maybe it was me changed, you know? Maybe it was all the success I'd been having. Or maybe it was just how casually I mentioned signing this huge deal a real game changer. Let me tell you, their faces, priceless. It wasn't just the deal itself, though. It was the fact that, finally, I wasn't their punching bag anymore. I wasn't the underdog. And Kelsey was starting to get that too, for the first time in a long time. When I dropped that deal bomb, the whole room went silent. Everything just stopped. Kelsey's folks exchanged these nervous glances, trying to figure out what I just said. Adam's face went from that smug smirk to, well, confused. You could see the gears turning in his head, trying to figure out what to say next. But honestly, it wasn't their immediate reaction that I remember most. It was Kelsey's eyes, the way she looked at me. For the first time, I saw something new in her eyes, past the usual love and fondness. There was something more there, like respect, like I was more than just her boyfriend now. I was someone with their own life, accomplishments, and goals. You could feel the family's judgment, though. Like they were trying to understand how this guy they'd written off, the one they said wasn't good enough for her, had something they didn't. I wasn't trying to shove it in their faces, either. I was still trying to wrap my head around everything, but I think that's what really bothered them. They weren't used to people saying, "I'm good enough for your daughter," and not backing down. Kelsey's family didn't like being challenged, especially when it came to how they saw the world. Adam was the first to try to snap out of it. He cleared his throat and leaned back in his chair. "Okay, so you're doing all right," he said, his voice kind of dead. "That's good. I mean, all the tech stuff is really popular now, but it's hard to know if it's a real long-term thing. You know how it is, right?" I just nodded, trying to stay chill. I could tell he was trying to spin this into something he could still control, but I wasn't going to let him. "Yeah, I get that. I figure a lot of people feel that way when they don't get how things are changing, but I don't need anyone's okay on this. I'm just doing what makes me happy." Kelsey sat there beside me, her hand resting on my knee. I could practically feel her nerves through her touch. I knew this was tough for her. Her family's opinion mattered so much to her, and I knew she wasn't quite ready for them to see the parts of me that I'd been keeping under wraps. Finally, her mom, Linda, spoke up. "I just don't get why you kept all this from us," she said, her tone still polite, but with a definite edge. "It's great that you're starting to do well, but Kelsey deserves someone who can take care of her right now, someone who's set up with actual stability. All this startup stuff doesn't exactly fill me with confidence about the future." Linda had made similar remarks before, but this time felt different. She was clinging to her idea of what Kelsey's life should be, and that didn't include someone like me, someone who'd been struggling and wasn't on the typical path of working my way up in a company. Kelsey shot a look at me, and I could see the turmoil in her eyes. She wasn't going to say anything to her mom, not then at least, but I could feel her distancing herself a bit. I wanted to jump in and defend myself to defend us, but I knew it wasn't the right time. Her family was in a whole different world, and they weren't going to just welcome me with open arms. Frank, her dad, had been pretty quiet for the most part, but that wouldn't last. He took a slow drink and looked right at me. "Kelsey's kind of been in her own world," he said. His tone was this mix of judgment and disappointment. "She's a bright girl, you know, lots of potential. I hate to see her wasting it on somebody who's, well, still finding their way." I felt this anger boiling up inside me, but I held it back. I wasn't going to let them get under my skin, not this time. "You don't know me, Frank," I said, keeping my voice steady. "And you don't get a say in what Kelsey does. She's not throwing anything away. She's with me because she wants to be. I think that says it all." For a second, everyone just sat there. Kelsey squeezed my hand, but she didn't say a word. Adam fidgeted, obviously not liking where this was going. He cleared his throat, but it wasn't like that snobby way he usually does. This time, it was almost like he was trying to move on, to save what was left of the night. So, he mumbled, looking at Kelsey, then at me. What exactly is this thing you were talking about? I mean, if it's such a big deal, maybe we could get involved. I know some people who might be. I cut him off. I knew he was trying to turn this into some business deal for himself, and I wasn't having it. Look, Adam, I don't want you involved, okay? I snapped, my voice sharper this time. This isn't some kind of joke to me. This is my life, what I've poured my heart into. I don't need anyone's help, especially not yours. Another long, uncomfortable pause filled the room. Frank's face flushed, Linda's expression was a total blank, and Adam just looked totally lost, like he didn't get what was going on. Kelsey squeezed my hand, and for a second I wondered if she was regretting dragging me into this mess. But then, something unexpected happened. Kelsey spoke up. I'm done with this, she said, her voice steady and strong. I'm tired of you all making him feel like he's not good enough. You've been doing this for months, and it's just not right. I'm with him because I want to be, not because of anything else. He's everything I need. And if you can't deal with that, then maybe I need to decide if I even want to keep coming back here. Her words just hung there, and I could see the surprise on their faces. For once, she wasn't trying to smooth things over. She was sticking up for me, for us. But even then, I knew this wasn't over. Her family wasn't just going to roll over. They wouldn't accept it just like that. They were going to fight back. The feeling in the room had changed, but it wasn't a good change. No, it was the kind of change that meant a bigger fight was coming. The words Kelsey spoke were what I'd been secretly hoping for, and even though it felt like a little win then, I knew we were nowhere near the end of it. Her family wasn't just gonna give up and let her stand up to them. Her dad, Frank, looked like he was about to lose it. I could see the vein in his neck throbbing with rage while he squeezed his glass even harder. Kelsey's mom, Linda, was just staring at her like she'd done something totally wrong. And Adam, he just sat there, his jaw tight, silently fuming. Don't talk to us like that. Frank's voice was quiet, but it was clear he was barely keeping it together. You don't get to tell us how to act in our own house, Kelsey. This guy you're with. He's just a distraction, a nobody. Kelsey held her ground, standing tall, her eyes locked on her dad. I'm not a kid anymore, Dad. I can make my own choices, and I've picked him. If you can't respect that, then I don't think I need to keep coming back here or playing these games with you. Her words just hung there, really heavy. The quiet in the room was killing me, but what happened next was way worse. Linda finally broke the silence, her voice all sharp and cold. You think you're so important now, don't you? She was sneering, looking at me like she wanted to just cut me down with her eyes. Just because you signed one deal doesn't mean you're anything special. We've seen tons of people like you come and go. You're a nobody, they said. Kelsey should be with someone stable, not a guy who just gets lucky sometimes. That really stung, like a punch to the gut. The way they talked down to me was awful, but what really got to me was how they dismissed everything I'd poured my heart and soul into. They had no idea about the late nights, the things I gave up, all the hard work. They just thought it was all a fluke. I felt the anger bubbling up inside, but I held it back. Kelsey was defending me, defending us, and I wasn't about to let them win by getting a rise out of me in front of her. But I also wasn't going to just let them get away with it. I met Linda's gaze, not backing down. I don't need your approval, I said quietly. You can call me lucky all you want, but that's all I'll ever be in your eyes, just luck. What I've built, what I'm building isn't a one-off. I'm not going anywhere. Adam snorted from across the table. You're seriously going to sit here and act like you're a success? You're just another fake. I looked at him, and for a split second I saw it. The insecurity hidden behind his cockiness. Adam had always been the favorite in his family. The startup king, the one with the flashy connections and the forced confidence. But at that moment, it was clear I was actually the one with the upper hand. And then it hit me. These people, Kelsey's family, were trying to control her, trying to force her into their perfect idea of what success should look like. They treated her like some kind of trophy, something to boost their image, and they didn't care who got trampled along the way. They weren't just being difficult and bossy, they were poison. It wasn't just me they didn't like. They hated that Kelsey had her own opinions. They thought they could run her life, and they were totally ticked off that she was finally standing up to them. Kelsey wasn't budging, and neither was I. We didn't need their okay. But the more I thought about it, the more I knew I couldn't let them keep hammering us, acting like they were the ones in control. I wouldn't just sit around and let them make Kelsey feel worthless. That's when the idea started to brew in my head. a way to make them actually feel the effects of what they were doing. I wasn't gonna get into some yelling match that wouldn't solve anything. Nope, I was gonna hit them where it really hurt. Their reputation, their perfect little world of wealth and achievement. I'm not a showy person. I don't brag, but I could play their game. And I could do it better than they ever could. Over the next few weeks, I kept a low profile. I didn't have to be right in their faces to make a point. I didn't need to prove myself to them. Not yet. Instead, I focused on the thing I was building up behind the scenes. I took my time, polished it, and turned it into something huge, something that would blow their minds. But even more than that, I started laying the groundwork. I'd been secretly networking, talking to people Adam and his family would never guess I knew. I'd quietly gotten in touch with some investors who saw things differently than the Kelseys did. I played it cool, real sneaky, so they wouldn't even realize what I was up to until it was too late. Then, boom, my chance came. Kelsey's family invited us over again. But this time I wasn't just her boyfriend. This time, I was bringing something to the table that would blow their minds. Walking into their house, I could feel the usual tension. Linda and Frank, her parents, were sitting there, all stiff and judging me, expecting me to screw up, expecting me to be the same old pushover. Adam was glued to his phone, barely even looking at me, but his whole attitude screamed, "I'm better than you." But this time was different. I spoke up, and it wasn't that hesitant, trying too hard voice I used before. I had something they couldn't possibly ignore. I laid out this deal I'd been working on. It wasn't some little project anymore. It was a huge partnership with a massive tech company. The kind of deal Adam would have given anything to be a part of. The kind of thing that made their family fortune look like pocket change. Kelsey's eyes went wide when I told them the details. Her jaw dropped. Her parents were just as shocked. Linda's expression changed, shifting from icy indifference to something more. Was it envy? Rage? A hint of terror, maybe? Frank just sat there like a statue. And Adam, he was completely lost. I let the weight of it all hang in the air, watching as they took it in as the truth started to dawn on them. I wasn't just lucky anymore. I wasn't just the dude Kelsey was goofing around with. I was someone who could actually mess up their perfect little lives. I could practically see Adam's brain working overtime. He was already scheming, trying to figure out how to get in on this new thing, to grab some of the glory, to prove he wasn't just a spoiled rich kid. But it wasn't gonna be that easy. I had one more move. I turned to Kelsey, and without a second thought, I said, "I think it's time we do our own thing. We've built something amazing together, and it's only gonna get better. But it's not just about me, it's about us. And if you're ready to ditch their control, we can make our own future." The silence that followed felt like forever. I could see the surprise in Kelsey's eyes as she wrapped her head around what I'd said, her mind trying to catch up with the big change that had just gone down. Her parents were stunned, too. For the first time in a long time, I'd thrown their whole world off balance. I wasn't just a nobody in their lives anymore. They had no choice but to acknowledge me. When Kelsey looked at me, it was like a light bulb went off. I think she finally understood what I'd been up to while she was dealing with her family's drama. I don't know if she knew how much I'd been secretly trying to fix things for us, for her. But then her eyes darted to her parents, and that old struggle started up again. I knew this was killing her. She always had to choose between being with me and making her family mad, and it was always right there, under the surface. Frank was the one to break the silence, and his voice was quiet but firm. "You think you can just take her and leave us behind?" he said. "You think that's how it works?" He was glaring at me, his hands balled up. "You can't just walk in here, make your move, and think you've won. Kelsey isn't some kind of trophy. She's our daughter, and you can't just snatch her away." "I'm not taking her," I said, and kept my voice calm, even though I was boiling inside. "She made her own decision. You don't own her, and you don't get to tell her what to do anymore. It's time for her to live her own life, and if you can't handle that, then maybe it's time for you to back off." I didn't want to sound mean, but I wasn't going to let Frank's words get to me like they had before. He was trying to twist Kelsey's arm, push her back into their little box. But I wasn't about to let him do that to her. Linda looked totally offended. "You think she's better off with you?" She practically spat, her eyes all narrowed. "You think this whole tech thing is gonna last? We've seen this a million times. Guys like you, all ambition and no sense. You're gonna flame out. And then what? She'll be left with nothing." It hurt, what she said, but it didn't hit me as hard as it used to. Kelsey was finally seeing them for what they were: scared, jealous, and just wanting to control her. Kelsey's eyes darted between me and her folks. For a second, I thought she might crumble, try to smooth things over for them. But then she took a deep breath, looked her mom right in the eye, and said, "You've tried to run my life for years. You've never respected my decisions, but I'm not your puppet anymore. I'm with him, and that's it." It was simple, what she said, but man, it packed a punch. For once, she wasn't just defending me, she was standing up for herself. Frank started to open his mouth, but then Adam, who'd been quiet the whole time, jumped up. His face was bright red, his jaw clenched. He was about ready to explode. "This is insane," he blurted, pacing like a caged tiger. "You're gonna throw everything away for this guy? He's not even your type, Kelsey. You're throwing your whole life away, your safety net, for some guy who just got lucky." I saw Kelsey's jaw tighten at Adam's words, but she didn't give an inch. She looked him right in the eye, all tough, and said, "You don't get to decide my future. You've lived in your own little world, thinking you're all that," she went on, "but look where that's gotten you." She let that hang in the air for a second. "You don't even know what real success is. You're just playing games, hoping for the best, and guess what? It's not working. I'm not letting you drag me down into your fake world of fancy stuff and empty promises," she finished. Adam's face turned red with anger. You could practically see the steam coming out of his ears. "You think you're better than me?" he yelled, his voice getting louder and louder. "You think you're some kind of genius? I'll show you who's better. You'll be begging me to take you back when it all falls apart." But Kelsey didn't even blink. She stood there, strong as ever, her eyes locked on his. "I'm not the one who needs to come crawling back," she said. "You've been coasting on your parents' money long enough, Adam. I'm done." The room was so quiet, so heavy with tension, it felt like the air was crushing us. It was suffocating, and right then it hit me. This wasn't just about me anymore, or just about me and Kelsey. This was Kelsey fighting for herself, finally breaking free from her family's grip. Then something totally unexpected happened. "I'm out of here," Kelsey declared, facing her folks, her jaw set. "I don't know what's next, or even if I'll be back, but I'm done with this. You can't boss me around. I'm not something you're trying to fix. I'm a person, and I get to pick my own way." Her voice was rock solid. The room went completely quiet as everyone processed what she'd just said. Frank's face went white, and Linda's face softened just a little, but it was clear they'd lost. Adam looked like he was about to lose it, but before he could, Kelsey grabbed my hand. "Let's go," she whispered, her voice even, but her eyes were brimming with feeling. As we left that place, Kelsey squeezed my hand tighter. We didn't look back. We didn't need to. Her family had tried to split us up for way too long, but now we were free. Things started to shift in the weeks that followed. Kelsey moved in with me, and together we were all about making our future without all her family's pressure. Her parents didn't reach out at first, but when they did, it was some half-baked apology, which we both just blew off. Kelsey's family never really liked me, but I didn't care anymore. They tried to mess with us, control us, and put us down, but we'd taken back control. We had the life we wanted together, doing it our way. And as for Adam, he was still putting on the act of the big-shot businessman, but his connections were falling apart. Those investors I was counting on, they weren't that into me, it turned out. Slowly, all the perfection I was trying to project started falling apart. As for Kelsey and me, things are actually amazing. Her family can't control our joy anymore. They'll never really get what we share, but honestly, we're okay with that.